over to Zoom then.
Tyler, talk.
What's up?
Test again.
What's up?
Okay, you're good. Alright, and we're live.
Alright, then we'll just throw out to get in. When he's in, he'll have to join then.
We're live.
All right, yeah. Sorry for the delay there, everyone. But we are live. You are listening to WJMF 88.7 HD2 Smithfield-Providence, or you tune in at WJMF.com. I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Carter Adams.
I'm Tyler Tucker.
And this is Down the Wire. Welcome into the show. This is our semester finale. We got a great show for you here tonight. Your ears do not deceive you. If you're on the radio, we have our very own Tyler Tucker back on the radio for the first time since COVID. We got a good number of guests in the house tonight. We got our pseudo NBA correspondent Jacob Marchand in the house. We're gonna have another guest joining in shortly if he can manage to find his way into the meeting room. But we got a great show here tonight. It's been a great semester, but it's crazy that it's already coming to an end.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, it has been one hell of a ride. But I'm just hoping that we can give it one last good show before we send it off for the rest of the semester. So let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it.
So Jake, one of the reasons we wanted to bring you in tonight was because of some stuff going down in the NBA. And actually, before I do, Carter, would you actually just admit our final guest for the night? And I think we have our final guest of the night. Adam, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. Adam, how are we doing tonight?
Doing all right. How about yourselves?
Doing well, Adam. For any of you guys who didn't see some of our previous shows, Adam was on with us. A great friend of mine. Love having him on the show. Tyler, I don't think you were on the show with Adam, but it's great to have you both just in studio tonight. How are you guys feeling?
Feeling good.
Yeah. So, Adam, I was about to say we're kicking things off in the NBA tonight. One of the biggest stories we were talking about on our Wednesday show, we were talking about the possibility of James Harden going to Philly, and we were basically saying that the Houston Rockets could try to maybe build around a Russell Westbrook led team and try to do some things over there. But literally like moments after our show ended, reports came out that Russell Westbrook reportedly wants out of Houston. Jake here is a giant Houston Rockets fan, so we definitely wanted to get his take on everything happening over there. Apparently he wants out, and a couple of teams on the short list that he is on his short list include the Knicks, the Clippers, and the Pistons have been all rumored destinations, but nothing is really known so far. Jake, you were saying that you were having some issues about the Rockets kind of going into this offseason. What are your thoughts on this news from Westbrook?
Honestly, I think some change has to be made.
Yeah.
What's been going on just hasn't been working. We've been, yes, with the team we have, we're making it to the playoffs without a doubt. But, you're not going far. And the West is really strong, so there's just not many opportunities to keep going, really far in the playoffs. So we need change. And with Mike D'Antoni gone, and Coach Silas coming in, we need to embrace the change to an extent. And just see where we can go from there.
I'll kind of do a little roundtable right now. What are your guys' just thoughts in general on this move? I'll start in studio with Carter.
On the James Harden move?
Not on the James Harden move, but on Russell Westbrook kind of just wanting out from Houston at this point.
I don't think he's the right guy to want out. I think James Harden needs to want out for the sake of the Rockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I second that.
I mean. I'll second it over to you guys. What do you guys think? Do you guys think James Harden should be the guy out of Houston at this point, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think Russell Westbrook himself kind of shut down some of these rumors already because I don't know if you guys saw, but Russell Westbrook commented on Stephen A. Smith's post and said, "This is totally fabricated. We want to stay playing together for years." But regardless of that, I don't think it's the right move for Houston because they need a big man. The small ball thing clearly didn't work. They need to at least get rid of one of them and see what they can get out of them. Maybe go to Philly and a swap for Joel and either one of them could go that way, but they definitely it's time for a move.
I mean, that would be a great move. I know another big coveted center this offseason is Miles Turner. He seems to, there have been a couple destinations of where he might land. Boston's been one of them, which I think if Boston could get a big man like Turner, that would be game changing for us. If we could finally get a big man that we've been lacking for so long. I mean,
if we could swap him for Hayward, I think that would be the move of the offseason right there.
That is a dub. But I was talking to Jake, the other day about some of the possible moves that basically the Rockets could make to acquire, that the Rockets can make to trade off Westbrook. And there were some moves from the Knicks, which apparently, I guess I was saying it's on a short list. But then I talked to him about some of the Clippers moves and some trades that included Pat Beverly. But then finally, the move that Jake really seemed to like. Jake was very animated about this response, and it was literally the trade was fairly simple, but it was Russell Westbrook and I think a second-round pick to the Detroit Pistons in exchange for Blake Griffin. So I don't know, Jake, you want to give your thoughts on that? Yeah, I know you were really excited about that prospect.
Blake Griffin, he's just a great player. I mean, granted, his knees are like totally shot now. But he's also old. But something you have to think about. So is Westbrook.
Yeah,
he's 32 years old. There's still 132 million left on his contract. So it's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like Tyler was saying, the small ball isn't working. And Blake Griffin's knees might be shot, but he can also fit into the Rockets style because he can also shoot the three. So he's developed that shot as his knees and dunk ability has deteriorated. So I think he'd be a decent fit.
Yeah, I mean he really has kind of changed up his entire game, and I think that if he did go to the Rockets, that would be honestly a great fit for him, just because of how instrumental he's been in changing everything up. I'm looking over at never mind. I was looking over at the Facebook and I saw some issues over there, but we seem to be going all good over there. But yeah, I think just with James Harden's shooting ability and Blake Griffin's development of a 3-point shot, that's the ideal situation. I think if the Rockets can manage to flip that, then that's what you do. And if it turns out that Blake Griffin doesn't even want to be with James Harden, then I think we have to finally address the situation of James Harden's mentorship and character in general. I think at that point you really have to just say. Some people are saying it now, and honestly, I don't blame them because CP3 didn't want to be there, Wright didn't want to be there, and now Westbrook is arguably saying he wants out. Tyler, I know you were saying that there were some reports from he was talking to Stephen A. Smith. But just if this is the case and this is the pattern, this is a very troubling pattern for the Rockets, and they are going to have to make that decision of, is our superstar too toxic? And you really do run into a tough situation there.
I probably would have to agree. I mean, you look at the history, how many people came and went out of the Rockets organization. It's I don't think D'Antoni was a problem. They had a good system with him shooting the three and everything. Granted they have one bad shooting night, gets them kicked out of the playoffs, but he had a good system. So then you got to look at the people, and I've never been a fan of James Harden. I don't like the way he plays. And I don't know. I don't think he plays well with the people around him either. You look at him and Chris Paul arguing most of the time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know we were talking on the show about him possibly going to a team like Philly. Jake, you kind of seemed interested in that idea, but now with Westbrook possibly saying he wants out, is there any other ideal situation that you could possibly see a James Harden trade, or do you think that at this point do you consider possibly blowing it up if Westbrook wants out and Harden's toxic, or do you try to give it one last shot to build around Harden?
Honestly, I would say give it one last shot to build around Harden because I wouldn't want to. I mean, ideally, yes, James Harden's toxic, definitely to an extent, but he's a superstar. He's great, and Westbrook, he's also great, and he wants that role of floor general.
Yeah.
So he wants that. That's part of the reason why he's looking at trying to go back to OKC supposedly because he wants to go back to that role. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
But I don't know. It just really depends on how how far they want to go in the playoffs. Because if they want to make the playoffs, I guarantee they're probably going to want Harden because he can put up the numbers.
Absolutely. I mean,
But
he's just gonna go out there and literally just shoot the lights out.
Oh yeah, but I mean, if they want to have like an overall team, like that's very well, like I don't know, set up for success, but not to the extent like within the playoffs, then they might just build around Westbrook. So
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Adam, is there any thoughts on? Do you have any thoughts on the whole Houston Rockets situation? You know,
so I have a couple thoughts on that. Number one, my blame on in Houston with James Harden is more on player development.
Yeah.
And I say that because we kind of know over the years who James Harden is. He is who he is. He's the ball dominant kind of stat padding player who puts up these unbelievable statistical seasons and then he fizzles out in the postseason. So where I'm going with this is they should have known at the time who he was before everybody else realizes who he is, which is really not a contender and just a contending player, and just kind of said, like, look, let's trade this guy while we can get value for him now. Another take on the Houston Rockets situation is Russell Westbrook. I want to solve the riddle with this guy. You know, you can easily just go and say, like, this guy is not a winning player, but then you look at his early years with OKC when Kevin Durant was with the team and they were contenders then. Why hasn't Westbrook been able to win anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Westbrook is an older player now, and, you know, both him and Harden do have that alpha in them where, you know, Westbrook was winning MVPs out in OKC before Harden got there. I mean, before he ended up leaving, and Harden was doing the same in Houston. So, you know, they both have that, you know, alpha dog mentality where it's like they are going to have to decide, you know, who gets the, really who is going to be, who's going to be the guy when it comes to it. And that, I think, is
right. But when Kevin Durant was with the team, they were actually contenders. Where they were actually realistic contenders. Now it's kind of turned into any team Russell Westbrook is on. He's been surrounded with talent, and now it's kind of turned into like every team underachieves with him. I want to know how you can with Westbrook take a team with Westbrook and actually turn them into a legitimate contender, because we haven't seen that since, say, whenever it was they blew a 3-1 lead. I think that was 2014, 2015. Around that. I think I'm mixing up the years, but they were a contender then, and they haven't been a contender since with Westbrook. Nobody has.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the reason for that is because, you know, Westbrook at the time was, you know, a much younger player. He Durant, you know, kind of took him under his wing a little bit and basically said, hey, you're going to be kind of like my partner in crime, and that's literally what the guy became. And he kind of he didn't really have that kind of, and he, like I was saying, he has that, he has that alpha in him. He really didn't have that at the start. And obviously the guy's always been a dog, and he's always going to, you know, fight for every inch. But, you know, he kind of did have to learn it first, and you know, he kind of had to have a couple welcome to the NBA moments. He had them, and now he's feeling better than ever. So I think that you know, he isn't. You know, maybe physically he might be a better player, but I think mentally he does unfortunately suffer from, him and Harden both suffer from that idea of just not being able to have any humility at this point. So I think that's the idea with that. But, you know, let's transition over to the next topic in the NBA, and it's been apparently that, you know, Kawhi Leonard is almost kind of doing what LeBron James is doing, you know, for his entire career, and Kawhi Leonard is apparently pulling some strings out in LA and is trying to get point guard Chris Paul back to the LA Clippers. Your thoughts, guys?
That's a long shot.
You think so?
What are they going to give up that the Thunder want, you know? The only thing that they've already moved on from Paul George, so what other big pieces are worth Chris Paul that the Clippers have?
Yeah, that is tough. I mean, you know, I think the only real thing that you could basically, you know, hope for at that point is that if you're a Clippers fan and in that organization, you probably just have to go off the idea that you can maybe get him for cheap because he is an aging vet, and it's almost just like, well, OKC might just be going, all right, we don't think they might just think at this point we're not going to be able to really build a chip around this guy. So it's almost just like, hey, let's just get out while we can, get something. And
well, I really don't think you can really classify him as an aging vet, though, because he just had an MVP season, pretty much. And he took a team that wasn't even supposed to make the playoffs to, the 5th seed in the West, I don't know. Granted, he's up there in age, but I think he's still got a lot left in the tank, and I think if the Clippers were going to try to trade for him, they'd have to make a really interesting deal for the Thunder, and I don't think they have the pieces that they're willing to give up for that.
So I actually will give you this. He is a little younger than I thought. He is 35. I thought he was actually like around 37. So he actually could put together like another good two well seasons at least. So actually that kind of does change my idea a little bit. So you probably will have to give up a little more. But I do think that the price won't be as high as a lot of people are thinking. But yeah, so do you guys have any ideas? What are your guys' thoughts on a possible CP3 reunion?
You can go first, Charlie.
Well, I mean, it can't really hurt. Obviously, the Clippers are missing something.
Yeah.
CP3 knows the team. He probably knows most of the front office.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be a bad fit.
Yeah. Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Carter. I think he'd be a decent fit, but it really, you just have to do it to see what's gonna happen. But like he was saying, the Clippers are missing something. They didn't. They're just missing something.
And unfortunately, Paul George just wasn't that guy in the playoffs. He completely just collapsed. It was just a whole other level of just adequate, and he couldn't really even get anything done. He was below average in that playoff series. So you do have to try something. And you can get CP3 home where if he ends up going back to the Clippers, I think it would be set in stone that he would enter the Hall of Fame as an LA Clipper. I think he just beats out the Hornets at that point. But yeah, there's a lot of situations going down there. And then finally in the NBA, before we end up transitioning over, I wanted to talk about the LA Lakers are reportedly interested in trading for DeMar DeRozan. The return for the Spurs would be Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green. DeRozan, I love the guy. The guy, he really got screwed being part of that Kawhi Leonard trade going down there. He was one of the fundamental guys on that Toronto Raptors team. And right when they had that shot to get a ring, basically he's not on the team anymore. Obviously there were some mixed emotions with that whole situation. But what do you guys think? What are you guys' thoughts on DeMar to the Lakers? Do you think that could really be a difference, or do you think that do you think LA's just really shooting for anything at this point?
I think DeMar makes a huge impact on the team off the bat. He's a great player, but what is in that deal for the Spurs? Kyle Kuzma, it seemed like he peaked last year and he's already on a decline. And Danny Green he had a great 2019 season. 2020 he was decent. He wasn't as big impact as he was, but I don't know. I just don't see enough. I don't see the Spurs getting enough out of that deal to justify trading away probably one of the better players in the NBA, DeRozan.
Yeah, I guess the upside of it would be this, Tyler. Before LeBron really got to LA, Kuzma obviously he was a rookie at the time, and even last year, before AD was really there, Kuzma seemed to be on the upswing, and he seemed to still be doing well. I remember even his rookie season, people were asking, the kind of rookie of the year conversation was pretty much between. I forget if Ben Simmons was still considered a rookie that year. There was that whole controversy, but legitimate rookies, I remember it was between Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, and Kuzma at the time. So I guess if the Spurs could see themselves really being able to turn Kyle Kuzma back into the guy he was as a rookie, where he had that high potential. He's still a fairly young player, and then Danny Green obviously would be a great shooting option. But I think the idea of that is you get Kuzma down there. I know the Spurs are touted for having some amazing shot doctor where basically they can turn him into the next Steph Curry down there. So it's basically I think the idea is that this entire trade is going to be based on how highly the Spurs view Kyle Kuzma. If they still think that he can be that guy where he's going to be able to just be an absolute force shooting and driving wise, then I think it's honestly the move to make.
Also that they're just trying to look to rebuild, kind of reset, and start looking towards the future. Like, not necessarily that they're actually looking for something in Kuzma, but just they're trying to maybe they can tank a couple years.
Yeah.
Maybe trade for some resources.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they would, besides Kuzma, they would be able to give that the Spurs would want, but if they can give up some resources, it could make sense for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have some points there. I think that the Spurs this year, I think it was the first time in 20 years or something that they hadn't made the playoffs. So completely unprecedented in our lifetime. So I think if the Spurs would want to consider a tanking, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I think Popovich said that he say he's going to be leaving soon. I don't know. I thought there were rumors that Popovich was going to be retiring soon.
It's been rumored, but I'm not sure.
If that's the case, if Pop is considering retiring, and maybe the Spurs just do consider going into a tank for a little bit, trying to reacquire some assets. But I honestly think that if the Spurs view Kyle Kuzma enough, they could try to get him down there and really get him back to that potential that people saw in him early on. Because there were some talks that before AD got there, LeBron was showing I just remember Kuzma was showing incredible promise, and I think that given the right situation, I think he could return to that form. I think just being in that offense with Anthony Davis and LeBron and just everything else going down there, you're getting smothered. You're really not going to get a lot of chances to get that ball. And you have and plus these are two big men, so. Two bigger men. LeBron obviously can still play small forward and stuff like that, but you have AD down low, and you even had some pretty comparable centers as well. So I honestly think that Kuzma could get a pretty decent shot in San Antonio, and he could definitely build himself back up.
It is hard. And if I'm the Spurs, I wouldn't stress, as great as a coach he is. I wouldn't stress too much about losing Popovich and trying to do a rebuild, because the way the league is, it's a player-driven league, and it's a league where you could literally have anybody at coach, and as long as you have the talent and the chemistry between that talent, then you're going to wind up winning.
Oh yeah.
As unfortunate as that is, I love watching Brad Stevens and Greg Popovich coach, but what it all ultimately boils down to is whether or not you have the talent rather than the little engine that could in the overachieving teams. Those guys just don't win anymore.
Yeah, that is unfortunate that teams like that can't really win. It is just completely driven by superstars. You are right, but that kind of covers everything that I had planned in the NBA so far. I'd like to transition over to the NFL now, where before we end up actually getting into some of the actual on-field stuff, there was some recent news that came out that Super Bowl 55, the halftime performance will actually be the Weeknd in the halftime show. He obviously released a new album this year, After Hours. Some people have had mixed reviews of it. Some people have said that it's overrated, and some people are basically saying it's his most experimental project yet. This guy is obviously the Weeknd is a very, very talented artist. What are you guys' thoughts on him, getting the nod, especially after last year where it was Shakira and then who else? Jennifer Lopez.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I think personally, Weeknd, big upgrade here. Big upgrade. Your guys' thoughts, Tyler?
Finally, someone not terrible from 2005. It's like, who do you think? I don't know who the NFL thinks they're pandering to. 40-year-old moms. This isn't who watches the NFL. Their best bet would be getting some country music singer that everybody loves. But this is definitely an upgrade because in the past we've seen, like you said, Shakira last year. That was something. And it's definitely an upgrade, but there's still work to be done.
Yeah, Carter. I mean, Tyler just brought up country music. Would there be any country artists you'd be interested in seeing headline the show?
No, not at the Super Bowl.
Really?
But I think this is the moment in the Weeknd's career where he starts to gain mainstream fame because he's going to go out with a halftime show, and like you said, you got 40-year-old moms watching. That's when everybody's going to know who the Weeknd is because he doesn't have that mainstream fame yet.
Unfortunately, I mean, I think the halftime show will propel him to that, and people are actually going to start taking this guy much more serious than just people in the hip hop game honestly do. If you guys had to pick, what would your ideal halftime performance be? I'll kind of go around. I'll start with Jake. Do you have an ideal artist to perform at the halftime show?
I'm gonna need you to come back to me.
All right, Carter. Do you have any ideas?
Probably the Weeknd.
Really? Really?
Yep.
All right. Tyler, you got anything?
It's obvious. Travis Scott is the way to go.
I mean,
He would tear it apart.
He had that shot in 2018, though, Tyler. Now, I actually will give you this. I do wish he would actually get a full set because he only had Sicko, and that was it, and that was pretty weak.
Yeah, no, he's probably the most popular artist in the world, and I think you can't find many people that don't like him. So
I do agree. I think that he should have gotten another shot with it. Me, obviously, I'm a huge Post Malone fan. If he could, finally get that recognition and get in there, it's kind of I consider it the perfect blend between, like you were saying, that love that 40-year-old moms could probably get out of it versus and mixed with people, in the hip hop / rap game, people could probably take just as much great appreciation from that. So I think personally that would be a great pick as well. Jake, any ideas coming back to you?
I'd probably have to say like Drake or Kanye.
All right, yeah, and then Adam, I'll finish off with you. Do you have an ideal pick for the Super Bowl halftime show if you could have one?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Drake, but honestly, for what has to happen is they have to play Sweet Victory. During Super Bowl 53, they tugged at our hearts and they tore it to pieces when Travis Scott literally trolled us.
Yeah, that
has to happen. But if we're gonna go with anybody as for the halftime show, I feel like Drake would be the way to go.
Yeah, I think even though he is Canadian, I feel like Drake will eventually get that nod. Actually, what am I saying? I think the Weeknd's Canadian too, right? Yeah, so let's get Drake that nod. He's got enough classics. Let's do it. But yeah, so I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. But then to get over to actual NFL news, there a lot of people were talking about what could possibly be the next greatest QB rivalry in sports. Some people were talking, a lot of people have looked at, Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, and so far that rivalry has been pretty one-sided. So basically, a lot of people are wondering, what is the next great QB rivalry between guys? Like, what is the next Brady Manning going to be? Because for a while, it's been tough to really kind of hype up some of these key matchup games. I've heard a couple people talk about one of the things I was hearing on ESPN, believe it or not, is currently a matchup between two rookies so far, and it's been between Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. What do you guys think about that? And are there any other possible QB matchups that you would like to see turn into a rivalry at some point?
I'm going with Kyler Tua. That's my pick.
Okay, yeah, I like that. That's actually a good.
I mean, Kyler's been huge this year. I love the way he runs the ball. He looks like a kid running away from trouble, but he's a really solid quarterback. He's got a lot of pieces around him. And I think Tua's in the perfect spot in Miami because they're looking to build towards the future. So I think they're going to have good franchises around them for the next 5 to 6 years, and I think that'll be a fun battle to see year after year.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I love what Kyler Murray's been able to do this year. The guy is completely, in my mind, like I was worried at first that last year was kind of going to be like, oh, he's a rookie, he's going to have like some flashes, and they were going to figure him out. But in fact, I think that he's pretty much at this point just gotten even better. And I'm really excited for what the Arizona Cardinals will be able to do with a guy like that. Do do you guys have any ideas of a possible QB matchup that you'd like to see made into a rivalry in the future?
I don't think it's right not to mention Joe Burrow. I think probably Joe Burrow and Tua.
Okay, yeah.
Agreeing with Tyler, kind of, just because they're both in the AFC.
And they were within one draft pick of each other too. Actually, Tua went third to the Dolphins. So, within they're two QBs in the same draft. That's honestly that's a perfect idea of a matchup. Jake, do you have any ideas?
I was probably gonna say Joe Burrow too.
Yeah, I was seeing the thing on ESPN about Justin Herbert, and I think that Herbert is great so far. But I am going to need to see enough, some more personality out of him if you're going to get that. I mean, I know that Brady and Manning's personalities weren't exactly, popping off the charts. But, we're in 2020. We're in a social media age. I think it is time that if we're going to have the next QB rivalry, it's got to be on more fronts than just the field. You got to have these guys trashing each other on social media, or at least going back and forth. You got to have a little bit of a playing with each other in that sort of a way. So unless Justin Herbert, completely just gets an insane social media game and does something like that, then I'd probably say something along the lines of Kyler and Tua, because both very young quarterbacks are going to be around for a very long time. I hope as long as Tua's health stays in check. I think that would be a pretty solid match to see coming down the pipe.
I think with that, personally, I don't think trash talk is really a big part of it in the social media presence, because you look recently at like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Granted, they haven't been going at it for their entire careers at each other. They kind of separate divisions and everything, but they really respect each other. And even though Brady went out there and kind of took away their hot streak and just killed them, I think there's a level of mutual respect they have for each other. Like after the game, they were complimenting each other. In press conferences, they were complimenting each other. And as a fan, I like to see that more than people going at it.
Yeah, I like to do that, Tyler. I mean, in terms of actual trash talk, I'm not trying to have these guys completely degrade each other, because I know even Brady and Manning, as rivals on the field, it was an intense rivalry, but they even respected each other. I was trying to basically point more at the idea of just trying to be, more active and just trying to, almost, I don't know, just trying to do something on that front in a way.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about a Brady Rodgers matchup, and like you were saying, they have been in separate conferences for a while at this point. But there have also been some situations going down. I think we possibly might be running out of time on the Zoom, but in case that does happen, we'll just restart that. But just 1 second. Oh yeah. So in terms of Brady v. Rodgers, I think that I honestly think that the two of them are, unfortunately, because they're in the separate divisions. I think that you kind of run into that dynamic of it's just a tough situation in my mind. I don't know. I've just never seen them as that kind of a QB rivalry personally. Carter, if you want to actually go over there real quick and just make sure everything's all set on the Zoom.
You know what, Brian? I'd be glad to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Perfect. I just want to make sure that we're all set. Does it say we're running out of time over here?
It says 10 minutes left.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. What time do we have over here?
Yeah, 10 minutes left.
Okay. So, I don't know. If it gets to the point where we need to restart anything, then we can do that. But yeah, actually, if it gets to that point, we can just basically have you guys sign off, and then we'll wrap it up over here, basically.
Yep, sounds good.
If in case it does cut out, I obviously just want to say thank you so much to Tyler Tucker and Adam Wright for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it. It's always great to have some guests in the studios, especially Tyler, who we've missed for so long. It's also great to have Jake in the studio with us. It's just always great to have a nice little roundtable discussion. Really, just makes it more of a community kind of feel on this show, which is what we love.
Great to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also in NFL news, we have Phillip Rivers recently passed Dan Marino on the all-time passing list. He is now currently 5th all-time. Phillip Rivers' career has been one of ups and downs. He couldn't end up getting a championship with the San Diego, now Los Angeles Chargers, and he's now a member of the Indianapolis Colts. And a lot of people are wondering, he was in that era of Brady, Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and a bunch of other guys like that. And a lot of people are now wondering, now that he's on another team, he still hasn't won that chip yet. It's kind of ironic that he passed Dan Marino, because he also was considered a very great quarterback, but didn't win a chip. What are you guys' thoughts on the legacy of one Phillip Rivers?
I mean, he's always been a player where he's very well respected and he's a very good player, but do we really think of him as an all-time great quarterback? I mean, I never did.
No.
He's always been just a very good quarterback who's just lasted a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never been on Drew Brees' level. He's never been on Aaron Rodgers' level. Certainly not Brady or Manning.
Yeah.
So he's always just been kind of there.
Yeah, I
And-
will give you that, Adam. I mean, for the longest time, you do look at some of these guys, and on that list, Phillip Rivers is the last guy on that list. He really just isn't really in the discussion. So I do agree with you there, and I think that some serious discussions do need to be had about, is Phillip Rivers a Hall of Famer? Right now, I don't know. I think with the way the NFL Hall of Fame is, I'd consider him. I'd consider him at least for the spot. I know there might be some people around on this roundtable that possibly disagree with me. Possibly everyone disagrees with this. But
If Eli Manning can be a Hall of Famer, I feel like Phillip Rivers is getting it.
yes, yeah. Do you guys think that Phillip? What are you guys' thoughts on Phillip Rivers?
Phillip Rivers doesn't have 2 rings. That's all I'll say.
That's your distinction between him and Big Ben.
That's my and Eli, like you said.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Eli. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like Phillip Rivers in the regular season though was more consistent than Eli. Eli just had those 2, magical playoff runs. He had obviously Eli was consistent, but I thought that Phillip Rivers had some better overall regular seasons.
But I mean, at the end of the day, your goal is to have a ring, Phillip Rivers has none, Eli Manning has 2, and Eli Manning also took down the best Patriots team of all time, so
I give
him credit there.
Credit than Phillip Rivers.
There's a difference between taking them there and being along for the ride. I know he won Super Bowl MVP, but I feel like that was mostly the defense keeping him in the game, and then he makes some big-time throws when they needed to, which is, again, still big, but he was kind of more just along for the ride.
Yeah, he was along for the ride, but he did it twice, unlike Phillip Rivers.
True. But
Right.
That is definitely is a tough situation over there with Rivers. I don't know. I mean, I was saying it is ironic because he passed a guy like Marino. Marino is remembered pretty favorably. I would say that obviously he's better than Rivers by a long shot. But still, I still think that a ring doesn't have to be everything. Obviously, I consider it a lot being up in New England where we were blessed with 6 of them within the past 20 years. But I think that Phillip Rivers, the guy's a warrior. I remember he played on a torn ACL. I think that the guy, I don't know. I feel like I do think that if Eli has done enough where maybe he had those 2 great playoff runs and his regular seasons can't keep up. I think that Phillip Rivers has had a solid enough regular season career to almost kind of elicit a Hall of Fame induction. In my personal opinion, but. I know that everyone else around here kind of has some differences with that. But then finally, I wanted to head on to in NFL news. I wanted to head into Rob Gronkowski, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tight end. Formerly of the Patriots, Brady has his target back in Tampa, and a lot of people were at least up here were mad when Gronk decided to come out of retirement and come back and decide to play down in Tampa. But a lot of people were saying at the time, oh, this guy's washed. He really doesn't have it. Obviously, he didn't have a great game against the Saints, but to his credit, really no one did. And but
him, just like kind of like Brady, down there in Tampa, they look like the. I mean, Rob Gronkowski doesn't look 100% like he was in New England, but he certainly looks like one of the top tight ends in the league in the past few weeks. He's been getting better and better every week. And like you said, he wasn't great last game, but nobody was. I'm pretty sure they played down. That's where they missed. That's where the Bucs missed Belichick or Brady and Gronkowski missed him. But yeah, that's kind of more of a. He looks rejuvenated.
Yeah.
he looks like his old self to an extent.
I happen to agree with you. Obviously, age is going to take a little bit off the guy and all the hits that he's had over the years. But compared to last year he had in New England, I mean, obviously he had that great catch in Super Bowl 53. But just in general, the guy looks rejuvenated on a whole nother front. Do you guys have any thoughts on Gronk's resurgence by any chance?
I mean, we know he's one of Brady's favorite targets.
Yeah.
So I think it was only a matter of him just making his mark on the season because he looks healthy. He had a lot of time off.
And I feel like Brady was definitely trying to picking Arians' brain a little bit and saying, hey, let's get one of my favorite toys kind of more involved in the offense.
Definitely, and that's two more veteran locker room presences too. So,
and I think a happy Gronk is also going to lead to a more positive Bucs locker room experience, like you were saying. It's transition from locker rooms. There have been some situations going on in the New York Jets locker rooms because apparently Jets players have discovered cameras within their locker rooms. I don't know if you guys have heard about this story. Pretty concerning story because it's not. I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, is this just an AFC thing?" I mean, the Patriots did a similar thing, but no, this actually really has nothing to do with this. This isn't filming sidelines or anything. Apparently, there were reports that some fire alarms within the Jets facility, or at least just different places. Players are finding like hidden cameras just within the facility, and a lot of people are just wondering like, what the hell are these doing here? Some people are like, is there just a creep in the Jets organization? Like, what's going on here? So, how concerned should these Jets players really be about this whole thing going on? You guys' thoughts?
I'd be concerned with people spying on me. That's really weird. I don't get that at all.
Yeah.
That's odd.
I'd be really wigged out, and I know that we have less than a minute, so if this thing does cut out, we'll see you guys we hope that you guys had a great semester finale. If this does happen to cut out, unfortunately, but let's hope that maybe this stays strong. But in general, I do think that obviously it's very concerning. Yeah,
it did run out.
Yeah, unfortunately, it did run out. All right, if you want to restart the live over on this side and just start it as a Facebook Live.
No, we're actually. Oh no, Zoom just closed. So yeah.